Buying a house in the Charleston, North Charleston metro area is still a pretty hot ticket, but after nearly 2 years of record low mortgage rates, these rates are now rising to levels not seen since before the pandemic. But don't worry, news is still good. Joining us with an industry update on this Money Monday is Kristy Gore, realtor with Realty One Group Costal. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So is that assessment pretty correct?
It's pretty accurate. It's starting to turn, balance out a little bit. Buyers had a real tough time a few months ago buying property, and we're starting to see seller sessions and a little bit of negotiations starting to occur. The seller doesn't have all the power anymore.
Listen, when you compare it to, say, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, sellers weren't dropping not one red cent because they knew someone right behind you was ready to pay full price, if not more.
Correct.
So things are changing a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. Things are changing. It's good for the buyers, though. So interest rates are still low, and you're able to get closing costs and some concessions. So it's a good time to buy.
Now, concessions, how big a concession?
I haven't seen anything more than about half of your closing cost, but at least we're getting that. A few months ago, buyers were not even getting half of their closing costs met. And now that things are slowing down on the seller's side, you will probably most likely be able to get full closing costs, depending on the seller and their situation.
Okay.
We didn't see the closing cost contributions in March at all.
No, nor did you 3-4 years ago.
Correct. Correct. We're seeing a change, and I think it's a great time. Starting to balance out for buyers and sellers. I think we're going to have a really good market in the next couple years.
How does our market differ from the rest of the country? Because places like Phoenix and other boom towns, they're seeing a complete flip.
Correct. Now, we have seen a slowdown, about 14% in the last month. But we are positive because we have so much industry in the area and people coming into this area with jobs that we've always had a strong market. Everyone wants to be here.
I was curious to know what your assessment was as we look into our crystal ball 6 months, a year into the future. Where do you think we're going to be at that point?
It's hard to tell. You can't tell based on what's happening in our world, in our economy. None of it's predictable. But Charleston is very desirable as far as tourism and as far as people wanting to be here. We have a lot to offer job-wise and recreation-wise. So I don't think it's going to change for us in the near future unless something major happens in our economy.
And something that we were talking about before we got started that I thought was really interesting is when we're talking about some of these bigger developments, because as we know, a lot of houses still going up and some of these neighborhoods are brand spanking new, but they were holding on to that inventory and selling it themselves.
Well, they were holding
but now they need you.
a good bit of inventory, but now that the market's changed, you're starting to see concessions with them as well. The Cane Bay area has a lot of new development, so pre-owned sellers are struggling right now because they can't compete with the developers with their incentive programs.
Is that at all a barometer to test the strength of the market, is when these homes, these particular developments are now requiring your assistance to try to get these off their hands, these homes off their hands?
I think that we always knew that developers would need us again.
Yeah, it's all cyclical, isn't it?
It is.
Round and round we go.
It is.
Up and down like a roller coaster.
Correct.
All right, so no prognostications for the next 6 months?
I think we're in a good place. I think that it's still strong. We still have buyers. We still have some areas that are having multiple offers still. But I also believe that it's opening up a season for buyers to come back that got discouraged during the last year.
Yeah, and it means that sellers and buyers still have to try hard to stake their claim. So.
There's a lot going on.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Kristy, for joining us. We're back after this.